अन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा. So welcome to this week's Bhagavad Gita call, and today we will be talking about something very significant: how the mind is generated according to the Srimad Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. So today we will be referring between the Bhagavad Gita and a large aspect of the Srimad Bhagavatam as well. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, very beautifully, there is a wonderful description of how the mind actually is generated and how the mind actually works. So in this particular class, I have created a PowerPoint. Below on my online page, you can go down and actually read it. And if you can say right click on the page where it says click here for the PowerPoint and save this, you could probably download it. And so today's topic, what we will be actually doing is called the fundamental principles of material nature, and this is actually called how the mind evolves and how the mind is, first of all, it's created. Secondly, how the mind functions, and third, how to control this mind. So the first aspect is, I would like to share my screen to show you this particular part where the Mahavishnu, somehow I'm not able to share my screen, some issue with the mouse. Well, that's fine. So in this creation, first of all, we are all spiritual beings. We are all spirit souls, Atma. And Lord Vishnu is the Param Atma. Now, Lord Vishnu is the Param Atma, And Krishna is even the Lord of Lord Vishnu. Now from Krishna, all the Vishnus come about. The Vishnus are unlimited universes come about. Now, before that, there is one primary Vishnu from whom this creation comes about. And the name of this Mahavishnu is actually called, is Mahavishnu, is called as Karanodakashaya Vishnu. He is called as Karanodakashaya Vishnu. Now this Karanodakashaya Vishnu, the spiritual Lord is there, and along with him, parallelly, there is this particular material nature. And this material nature, in the beginning, this creation, now we see there is hills, there is a house, there is, for example, like the phone I am using, it's a transformation. There is the phone. There is a bag, you can see there's a bag, or you can see there is an apple. So these are all transformations. But first, what exists at the beginning of the creation is something that is unmanifest. Something that is unmanifest. So here, when we try to manifest something, so this manifestation first begins with this unmanifested, means this is pradhana. Example that I can give you is like you have wheat flour. Now in this wheat flour, you can, from that same wheat flour, you can mix water, you can mix some salt, you can make chapatis. Now the same wheat flour, you can roll a little bit more substances, you can make puris. Same wheat flour, you can make some kind of a cake, you can make pakodas, you can make different types of things by different types of transformations. So similarly, originally there is something called as pradhana. Now this pradhana, the aggregate unmanifest, it's actually existing, this material nature. Now, when Lord Vishnu glances on this pradhana, he impregnates it with the two things. Because he wants the material nature to be created, he impregnates it with two things when he glances. One is the living entities, the jiva. So the living entities or the jiva are impregnated into this material nature. And then this material nature is agitated by time. For example, we are all sitting in one place. We are all sitting in one place, but we are moving through time. We are sitting in one place and we are moving through time. So that is our situation. So this time is what is taking us through. This time is a very important component. If you see, the time is moving parallelly. You are sitting here and time is taking you. So this agitation of this is being affected by time, this whole thing, this material nature, this our body, our mind, this is affected by the movement of time. So as time goes, there is creation, there is destruction, there is creation, there is destruction. Every 7 years, all these cells in your body are replaced. So this aggregate pradhana is impregnated with the jivas. And then there is agitation of time. Now from this Mahatattva, when there is this agitation of time, there comes a certain guna, aggregate. So there is sattva guna, rajoguna, tamoguna. Now this sattva guna, rajoguna, tamoguna, this guna, this ego from the Mahatattva, what is first generated is ego, ahankara. Now we need to understand this ego very clearly before we go into the mind. This ego is the basic principle of our existence, because we all exist based on our ego. Ego gives you your identity. Who are you? Immediately I say, I am this body, I am so many years old. Because this ego gives the soul a false reflection, a false identification. So everything is based on this ego. So if you get this cycle right, there is pradhana, then this is converted into Mahatattva. So from Mahatattva comes two things. When it is agitated with time, there is the ego, ahankara. And from ahankara, then there is sattva, rajas, tamoguna. So these are the two important characteristics. So this ego principle is the basis of material existence. So this ego makes one forget Krishna. Material ego means material identification. Forgetfulness of our real existence is called material ego. What is our real existence? What is our real ego? Our real ego is that we are devotees of Krishna. That is our real ego. We are spirit souls. That is our real ego. Now the soul in this material world, he does not want Krishna. He wants to be Krishna. He wants to enjoy. He wants to become the king. This ego principle exists in all of creation. For example, it is said that a mosquito is proud of its bite. A mosquito is proud of its bite. And then then there is this insects which sit on this stool, dirty stool. And when these insects sit on this stool, they are sitting there and they are pushing the stool down with their feet, and they are thinking, oh, I can move the earth. So with his limited vision, he thinks, oh, I am the big guy. And that's what everybody thinks. The president of America thinks, oh, best guy on this planet. Similarly, the tennis champion thinks, oh, I am tennis champion. I am number one. Everybody thinks like that. The richest man thinks, I am the richest. I am the big guy. But all this is in such a big false ego. What if you are number one? Or what if you are number two or number three? Does it matter when death comes? Does it matter when your body is going to slip away from you, whatever number you are you going to protect yourself? Are you going to protect yourself? Is this possible? So this is the situation. This is the material ego. Now this ego is the principle of material existence. So because of this basic ego in the background, the mind looks at this ego and he thinks, oh, I am this body. Everywhere he looks, he sees only the body in every direction. Oh, I take baths. Oh, it's my body is clean. Oh, he can see body, he can see body, he can see body. When I look at somebody, I have thoughts in my mind. I also recognize you have thoughts. I cannot see, you cannot see. But because of our limited vision, we are not able to enter into that thoughts. We are not able to enter subtle. We are not able to see the mind. We are not able to see the intelligence. We are not able to see the soul. So because we are not able to see all these things, it's very difficult. So now this ego, this principle of existence, this ego, now there is sattva, rajas, tamo guna. There are two things. Now this ego mixes with sattva, rajas, tamo guna and it produces three different things. Now when this ego mixes with the sattva guna, it produces the mind. And the mind has two important functions. What are the two important functions of the mind? Sankalpa and vikalpa. Accepting and rejecting. I like it, I don't like it. I want this, I don't want this. I like it, I don't like it. I want it, I don't want it. Sankalpa and vikalpa. Sankalpa, vikalpa. Sankalpa, vikalpa. So this is the function of the mind. When you desire something, oh, I want to travel, I want to enjoy. So then the mind takes you to some place. Then you want to go somewhere. Oh, let's look for a nice package. Let's do this. Let's go to a place where I can enjoy. So the mind accepts it. Then you try to enjoy. So the mind, the basic function is accepting and rejecting. So this is the material working of the mind. The mind has three other important functions. Three important functions. And they are thinking, willing, and feeling. So there is thinking, willing, and feeling. Now something that comes into the thinking stage, it goes into the next stage of feeling. And then it goes to the third stage of willing. So thinking, willing, and feeling are the three important workings of the mind. So basically, the process of spirituality is to give us proper thinking. Because now we are thinking only material things. Oh, you watch television. Oh, cricket is going on, football is going on, tennis is going on. You are thinking. And because these things are material, and because of all these things are material, all you are thinking is material. So your thinking is material. Your objects that you think are material, the effect that you get is material. So then it goes into willing and then feeling. For example, somebody doesn't like somebody and he has something very nice. Suppose he has an iPhone 6, his friend, especially children, you will see they'll fight, college friends. Oh, you have a nice. Then he does something, I want this phone, thinking. So because he sees that object, he desires that object. So mind is sankalpa. Oh, I accepted, I want that phone. Then thinking, I have accepted that object, so I will think about that object. Then willing, oh, can I go for it? I should go for it. I want it. My ego wants it. I want it. And then feel for it. Then third, you go for it. So similarly, gambling or illicit sex or all these things are like that. You go to a place, for example, you go with your friends and they take you to a bar, for example, and then you go to the bar and then you think, oh, you see all these objects around, and then you think about those objects because the senses, the body and the senses feeding the mind, and then the objects are there. Everybody else, you think sukha anushayi raga. You see people around and you think they are happy. Usually all these advertisements, people are smiling, right? People are smiling, saying, oh, this is nice. Pepsi Cola, very nice. Or a big sportsman, he says, oh, this watch is very nice. Mine is a very simple watch, but it's very nice, right? So then you think about it, oh, it's very nice. And because you are materially affected, you accept it. You accept it, sankalpa. And next thing, you will for it. Oh, I should get it now. Oh, where is the cheapest option? Is somebody putting it on sale? Then your intelligence, then you're working. And third, you see practical options, then you feel for it. So similarly, this thinking, this mind, the basic function of the mind, this very thinking can become the best friend of the mind or can become the worst enemy. So this thinking of the mind and the acceptance, these are two important functions. So what does it mean? If you want to control something, control means it starts from the very beginning. Thinking, your very thinking should be changed. So then you can will and feel. If I go to a bar with my friends, then I have to be very strong because all the objects around me, they make me think of objects which I do not need. And then I will for it. Maybe I can try it once and then I drink and that's it. Will and feel. And once you have got the taste, that's it. That could be the end of your life. So similarly, that is why it is said training of the mind begins with when you are children. The thinking, for example, giving them vegetarian food, making them chant Hare Krishna, making the children bow down to their parents. Everything begins when the mind is fresh. Because once something gets into your mind, to bring that out and put a fresh thought is so difficult. And that is called as sanskara. When some thinking becomes your habit, when thinking over a period of time, it becomes like a part of your life. You cannot live without it. For example, tea and coffee. Many people, when they wake up, they cannot even start the day without tea or coffee. It's like you are addicted to it. You cannot do anything about it. So this mind, the very thinking has to change. So this thinking, willing and feeling. So these are the three important workings of the mind. And then in the thinking stage, there is sankalpa vikalpa. At every stage, there is sankalpa vikalpa. Even when you feel, even when you are drinking, mind is thinking, this is nice, this is not nice. So every stage, there is thinking, willing, feeling. And every stage, there is sankalpa vikalpa, sankalpa vikalpa, sankalpa vikalpa, sankalpa vikalpa. So the basic activity of the mind is actually to desire. So this desiring, so to change this desiring, we want to desire for Krishna. Now we are desiring something material. We don't even know what to desire. Basically you ask anybody, what do you want to desire? I don't know. I want to be a rich guy, or I just want to live. Because I exist, I want to live. So there is no cultivation. So this is why the what we call bhakti is called as cultivation. What do you mean cultivation? Cultivation is just like you have a nice field and the farmer puts in seeds in there. The farmer puts in seeds. And when the farmer puts in seeds there, he waters the seed. And there is the plants that grow. So similarly, your thinking is supposed to be like that. You cultivate the mind. You have to cultivate the mind. You have to put spiritual seeds inside, and then you have to water it with the right nourishment. And then these nice seeds will grow. So spiritual life is putting in seeds of good thought. Chanting Hare Krishna, eating prasada, waking up early in the morning, practicing yoga, reading Bhagavata, associating with devotees, going to holy places, performing spiritual activity, all these things. So this is all cultivation of the mind. Cultivation of the mind. So this is very, 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 very important. So therefore, this mind, this very thinking should be transformed. The focus of spiritual life is to transform the very thinking of the mind. Transform the thinking of the mind. Transform your thinking. If you think, you see these Japanese people, some of them, they develop this, or some children, they develop this art. By thinking, they can bend a spoon. Just by thinking and concentrating, they can bend the spoon. There are 3 things required for success. I told this in some of the earlier classes, but particularly regarding the mind, I would like to explain this thing. So the first point is concentration of mind. Even if you are giving an exam, even if you are working, even if you want to be successful in anything, the first thing is concentration of mind. Second, persistent effort. Persistent effort. And then third is grace of God. So concentration of mind, persistent effort, and grace of God. So these are the 3 important things. But for that, for you to have concentration of mind, the mind should be one-pointed. But today's world, it is so difficult to concentrate the mind, to study anything. The mind just goes hither and thither. You just sit and the mind starts to rumble. Here, there, here, there, here, there, here, there. Sankalpa, Vikalpa. I will. And especially, you can see while watching television, people are just changing channel. Change channel, change channel, change channel, advertise, change channel, change channel. Just changing channels. I mean, the mind, you are bombarded. After some time, when that changing channel is over, suppose you are sleeping, imagine the status of your mind. It's like sitting on a merry-go-round and then getting down, and you feel like, your mind is, that is your situation. So then you watch all these things, this cricket, this football, then this politics. You watch all these things and the mind is rolling, 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 and you are throwing more things into it and it's rolling even faster. And then there is agitation of the mind. Where is the concentration? So basically today's media, our today's workplace, our today's exposure, Bhagavad Gita says, Krishna says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he said, living in the forest is in the mode of goodness. Living in the cities is in the mode of passion. And living in some gambling den is in the mode of ignorance. So today, basically, we are living in gambling dens. Why? Just because of the presence of the television. Because when you watch sports, when you watch news, when you do this, you are getting used to some kind of paid media with which you are gambling your life. So it's a mode of ignorance, actually. So there is Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, Tamo Guna. Now that I have explained how the mind works, now let's try to understand how you control the mind. How do you control the mind? So basically, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, both places, Krishna says that the mind, workings of the mind are controlled by the guna that the mind acquires. So this guna is what is directing the mind. This is, for example, when you drive on snow especially. So depending on the kind of tire that you have, it's a two-wheel drive, it's a four-wheel drive, and then the tire that you have, then you can drive smooth, then you can drive like slipping, then you can drive in any different way. So basically, the equipment that you put the mind into, the mind works that way. So essentially, to control the mind, in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he says that you should first bring the mind to the mode of goodness. If you bring the mind to the mode of goodness, then it's peaceful, it's light, it can be controlled easily. It's peaceful, it's light, and it understands, Lagu Prakashakam, it understands knowledge when you are in the mode of goodness. So when you are in the mode of goodness, when you are in Sattva Guna, it understands knowledge very easily. It is influenced very easily. It is very strong. Concentration level is very strong because it has a strong influence of Sattva Guna. So then there is Rajoguna. So when the mind goes to Rajoguna, it becomes very agitated. Because then the mind thinks, oh, now in Rajoguna, he is strongly wanting to enjoy this body. So the mind has very passionate. Rajoguna means passion. So passion means that kind of desires. So basically your food and your lifestyle, your spiritual practices, your material practices, that determines how strong your mind will be. So this mind needs to be very, very strong. So for this mind to become strong, you need to bring it to Sattva Guna. That's the basic point. So how to bring it to Sattva Guna? What are the things that constitute Sattva Guna? Let us count. The first thing is cleanliness, discipline and cleanliness. So if you are clean, of course, many are clean, but here cleanliness, in Vedic cleanliness, for example, if you pass stool, you take a bath, you wear fresh clothes. So these are basic cleanliness techniques. Then waking up early in the morning. This is very, very important. If you wake up late, see the mind, when you wake up between the time of 4 a.m. to 6:30 a.m., like 3:30 to 6:30, lagbhag that time, 3:30 to 6:30 a.m., then the mind comes into the mode of goodness. It is peaceful. But if you wake up late, then the mind slowly goes into the mode of passion. And those who sleep a lot, the mind goes into the mode of ignorance. So therefore, if we want to be in Sattva Guna, then we have to wake up early. This is very, very important. Wake up early and perform spiritual activity, because the mind needs activity. The mind wants to absorb, so the mind needs activity. So what activity do you give? Yoga, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, meditation, reading books, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, reading Bhagavad Gita. So these activities, you can take a walk, you can chant Hare Krishna, you can after you wake up, you can pass stool, wash your mouth, pass stool, take fresh bath, wear fresh clothes, and in that is Sattva-guna. And then you perform spiritual activity. You chant Hare Krishna, you perform meditation, you perform yoga, asanas, and then after a certain time, you need to give good 2 to 3 hours for strong spiritual activity. And after that, later on, you can perform, you can have prasad, you can have the food which is offered to Krishna. So that is also in Sattva-guna. Now, food which is offered to Krishna, it must be cooked fresh. It should be in the mode of goodness, without onion, garlic, and it should be made, with a peaceful mind. It should be cooked with the intention for spiritual development. It should be cooked with that intent, and it should be offered to Krishna. So then that food is transcendental, and when you eat that food, your mind becomes very peaceful. Because that food has no sin. Because if you eat food without offering it to Krishna, you become sinful, and when it becomes sinful, the mind becomes agitated. So after you do that, then of course we have our regular daily work. So because you have already done this early morning activity, because of your strength of the morning, the mind will now get the strength to work the rest of the day. Of course, we have to try our best. According to our karma, according to our horoscope, we undergo different types of karma, good karma, bad karma. So sometimes, despite our trying, we may not be able to reach a certain goal. Sometimes we try a little bit and then we are able to progress very fast. But in general, in this Kali Yuga, to control this mind in general is really tough. So we have to be really on guard. So then, after doing all these activities, one should also have yukta ahara, yukta vihara, yukta cheshta. Once you go to your work or something, you feel also a little bit of passion, you feel a little bit of agitation. So you need some recreation. So what do you do? So for recreation, one should have good association. One should have good friends circle. So because then the mind will interact with same minds. That is very important, to find a good spiritual friends circle. This is very important for your mind, because the mind has a tendency, moment you meet somebody, it is said by association, when you meet somebody who is very highly spiritually elevated, who is very good, then you get some good thing from him. But when you meet somebody who is not spiritually elevated, one who is very disturbed, one who is after material riches, sometimes you meet them and you also get that kind of disturbance. So this is the situation. So therefore, this kind of disturbance we should overcome. The disturbance of the mind, the disturbance. So Prabhupada says that these disturbances, this material world, one thing about this material world, the mind always expects a very peaceful situation. One should understand this material world is full of dangers, it is full of upheavals, and it is like waves in the ocean. We think one problem is over, now I can live peacefully, suddenly another problem will come. Now I think, oh, now my problems are over, another problem will come. So you should expect these problems. One should not think, oh, now I'm a devotee, now I'm following spiritual path, I have no more problems. No, everyone will get problems, but these are just like waves, and you are in a boat. And when you are in a boat, these waves in the sea, they will keep coming, and you should be strong enough, and just look at the goal. There is land there. There is Goloka Vrindavana, there is the spiritual world I have to go to, and I have to just focus on the target. So the mind is thinking about Krishna, thinking about the target. All these material disturbances will not affect the mind. But for that, you need very good association. People who are always talking about Krishna, people who are always talking about spirituality, at least they are favorable to spirituality. But if you meet somebody who is against spirituality, who is not interested in spirituality, who is always ready to put you down, now such kind of a thing is not at all. So therefore, along with good lifestyle in the morning, along with your work, you need good association, good friends. Then as your day goes on, later on in the evening, one needs to take rest early. Yukta ahara viharasya, yukta chestasya karmasu, yukta swapna avabodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkhaha. When the mind is peaceful, when the body is free from disease, when your mind is able to work very clearly, when you have strength, when you have intelligence, when you have good friends, when you have a lot of inspiration, you are able to work properly. So this is a whole lifestyle one needs to evolve over a period of time, and all this comes under sattva guna. Waking up late, eating passionate food, eating in whichever hotels you get, mixing with anybody and everybody, then doing whatever you want, and then trying to practice spiritual life, this will not be able to control the mind. You will not be able to control the mind like this. To control the mind, you have to direct the mind very clearly. And sometimes it means taking some hard steps, taking some serious steps. So taking serious steps means, first of all, we identify the goal. What do I want? I want to be happy. Right? That's the goal of the mind. I want to be happy. But what will give me real happiness? I saw when I went to I went to one yoga center, and I saw so many of them. They were so serious about practicing yoga because they really see that this body is giving so many problems, and if they practice yoga, then their body will become stronger and stronger and stronger. And in this way, they are able to eliminate diseases. At least they can come to some level of peacefulness. And when you are having good health, then you definitely have a good mind. You are able to sleep early, wake up early, you are able to practice yoga, you are able to practice a decent lifestyle. So then, when you are strong, when you are physically strong, when you are peaceful, then slowly you can evolve your thinking. Your thinking, willing and feeling, then you can direct the mind. Otherwise, always because we are weak, the mind is directing us. So there needs to be physical strength as well as spiritual strength. So both things we need to balance. So physical strength by eating right, by sleeping right, by having right exercises, it's very important. And then by proper association, so one strikes a balance between the physical and the spiritual. Because we are not in a position where we can completely meditate on Krishna whole day. Very difficult. We are not, physically and mentally, we are not that strong. So therefore, one needs good association. At the same time, one needs a good lifestyle. And all this is given very beautifully in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And one needs to go through that in detail. And I recommend that everybody practices some kind of asanas every day. Some kind of yoga, some kind of asana, some kind of pranayama. And when you do this, some kind of asana pranayama, then you begin to gain that strength. When you do asana pranayama, you begin to gain very strong physical and mental strength. So then Krishna also instructs that this pranayama can purify the thought processes. Your mind can become very peaceful. So all in all, this mind which is generated when it associates with mode of goodness, this mind can give you the best results. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bandhuratma and Ripuratma. He uses two terminologies. Bandhuratma means the mind as the best friend, and Ripuratma means the mind as the worst enemy. Nobody, remember, nobody can give you as much distress. Nobody can give you as much distress as your own mind. Nobody can give you as much distress as your own mind. Because when the mind becomes a friend, even the greatest difficulty just goes away. I would like to quote a nice example that I heard. This is a very difficult thing, but in Egypt, there was this some Christian missionaries, what I heard, and they were on some kind of a mountain, and these some of these antichrist or somebody, and they were coming, and they were killing these priests and everything, these to kill these kind of priests. And the news came to the priests living in the higher that there are slowly the temples, the churches in the lower part of the hilly areas, they were being killed. And when they got the news, they knew very soon they will also be killed, because there is no way you can go down the hill. So very soon they will also be killed. But what did they do? He prayed. It was said the parish priest, he prayed that, oh God, give me the strength that when they come to slit my throat, let me see him, that you are acting through him, because without your sanction nothing can happen, that you are acting, and let me get the strength to forgive him, because it is not him, but it is you who is doing it. It is you who are doing it. So that is the situation. So similarly, we have to understand that there was some Khan who was attacking the Sri Rangam temple. And when he attacked the Sri Rangam temple, all the Sri Vaishnavas were standing in front of the temple. And they were standing in front of the temple, and this Khan was attacking with a sword. They were simply standing with their bare hands, these Brahmanas, when the temple was being attacked. And these Brahmanas were so sure about the protection of Krishna. They had so much faith in the Shastra that when these Muslim army, they were slitting the throats of these Brahmanas, they were just chanting Nalayara Divya Prabandha. They were just chanting Nalayara Divya Prabandha because their acharyas, the Sri Vaishnava acharyas, Ramanujacharya and other acharyas, they recommended that you remember this Divya Prabandha. You remember the Lord at the time of your death. You are going back to the spiritual world. They were so confident. They were so confident that even when they were attacked, they simply gave their throats and they said they were just chanting Nalayara Divya Prabandha. This is the faith that they had. And the Lord took all of them back to the spiritual world. So the thing is, this mind, when it comes to Sattva Guna, it conquers fear. It conquers death. It conquers all sorts of problems. All sorts of problems are nothing. It can conquer death. It can make you very, very strong. So the mind has to come to Sattva Guna. Brahmacharya is very essential. Celibacy. And one needs to keep away from television as much as possible, because these things agitate the mind and slowly they lead to, passion. And once you get into passion, then you get attracted to the opposite sex. Everything is finished. Coming to Sattva Guna means you are attracted to the Lord. You are attracted to the spiritual situation of the Lord. You are able to see the Lord within your heart. You are able to see the Lord everywhere. This is the quality of Sattva Guna. Sattva Guna means you are able to see the Lord everywhere. That is Sattva Guna. Rajo Guna means you are not able to see the Lord everywhere. You are just agitated. You are passionate. So the cure for the mind, so the working of the mind is thinking, willing and feeling. And at every stage, the mind does sankalpa vikalpa, sankalpa vikalpa, sankalpa vikalpa. And among all these senses, mind represents Krishna. The mind controls everything. So mind basic function is to desire, think and desire. So the whole goal of this Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam is to transform this mind from the material mindset to thinking and desiring about Krishna and for Krishna. And when the mind does this, when the mind thinks about Krishna, and when the mind desires for Krishna, mind desires of Krishna, so then the mind becomes your best friend. It conquers death, it conquers problems, all disturbances just go away. Just Krishna will just protect you. And even in the greatest danger, your mind will save you. Your mind is your greatest friend, but the mind can be your greatest enemy also. So he is your dear friend. He is your best weapon. Mind it. So this mind is a very special creation. And when this mind comes to the mode of goodness and then transcends, this mode of goodness is just the start. Then one comes to transcend this ego and is able to perceive the real self in the mode of pure goodness. And when it comes to pure goodness, when it transcends this material mind, when it comes to the mode of pure goodness, then one is able to perceive the soul and super soul. So this goodness, this sattva guna, is the vehicle. Then slowly from this sattva guna, you go higher. Rajoguna and tamoguna, passion and ignorance will lead you nowhere. They will only lead to more material existence, because one will be unhappy, one will be addicted, one will be unsatisfied. All these things when you are in passion and ignorance. So goodness means, sattva guna means to really cultivate good habits, cultivate real spiritual life, cultivate spiritual friendships, cultivate good culture overall. And the mind needs to have that good culture, and then it becomes successful. So I will summarize today's class. So there is this the Supreme Lord, by his glance there is this creation of Mahat Tattva, and then from the Mahat Tattva there is the creation of ego, and there is Sattva, Rajas, Tamoguna. And when this ego mixes with Sattva Guna, there is the creation of the mind. When this ego mixes with Rajoguna, there is the creation of intelligence. And when the ego mixes with the Tamoguna, there is the creation of sound. So next class we will see how intelligence works. Today we saw how the mind works. Then to next class we will see how the ego mixes with the Rajoguna and how the intelligence works. Then third class we will see how the class after that we will see how the ego mixes with the Tamoguna, and then the sound, touch, form, then all this gross body, this gross ego, all these things are produced, how they work. But basically actions happen in the mind. So if you strengthen your mind, if you control the mind, then all the other actions are controlled, because everything emanates from the mind. All the actions emanate from the mind. An angry mind, frustrated mind can kill all action. But a peaceful mind, a focused mind can make all actions successful. So it's all in the mind. Even most diseases, health problems are because of the disturbed mind. So we have to conquer the mind, and the only way to conquer the mind is to bring the mind to Sattva Guna. And to bring Sattva Guna, one needs to cultivate good habits, one needs to surrender to the Lord, wake up early, eat healthy, perform yoga, sleep early, and cultivate good spiritual friendships, good spiritual relationships. And in this way, one can easily become very, very successful in controlling the mind. All right, so I will stop here. So are there any questions or comments at this point?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, this is Praveen.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Ego with Rajoguna and ego with Tamoguna. With Tamoguna
ego, when mixed with the tamoguna, ego mixed with the tamoguna, it produces the subtle and gross elements. So the subtle elements are
Yes, Prabhuji.
so the subtle elements are sound, touch, form, smell, all these things, and the gross elements are the hands, legs, the working actions. So there is gross and there is subtle. So when the ego mixes with rajoguna, it produces intelligence, and when ego mixes with the tamoguna, it produces subtle and gross aspects. So that we will see in the next class. So the subtle thing is sound, touch, form, taste, and smell, and then it produces the objects of the senses and everything. So when the ego also mixes with the mind, it also produces demigods. When ego mixes with passion, it produces the senses. When ego mixes with the tamoguna, it produces these material, objects of the senses and all these different things. So basically, to summarize, when ego mixes with the sattva-guna, it produces the mind. When ego mixes with the rajoguna, it produces intelligence. And when ego mixes with tamoguna, it produces the senses and sense objects.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay? Yeah. So, all right. So, are there any other questions? So basically, we need to overcome this ego. Prabhuji, can you talk 2 minutes about Festival of Inspiration? Okay, Festival of Inspiration, this year we are having His Holiness Jayapataka Swami coming in, and His Holiness Jayapataka Swami, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami, and we have also Dinabandhu Prabhu, who is coming from Vrindavan, India. So hopefully he will lead like a kind of a parikrama. Then we also have so many big sannyasis and devotees coming. As we know, Malati, Her Grace Malti Mataji, Malti Devidasi has been so many years who has been doing this Festival of Inspiration, and she is also there. Lakshmi Moni, Urmila Mataji, and so many other senior Vaishnavas are coming. Plus there will be entertainment, and there will be nice kirtans. Agni Dev Prabhu will be there, and Karnamrita Dasi, they will also be there. So you are all invited to join the Festival of Inspiration and get inspired for the whole year. So it's on May 8th, 9th, 10th. So please be there. All right. So any other questions or comments?
No.
All right, Prabhuji. I hope this session was helpful. And next class, we will talk about how the intelligence works, and then how the mind and intelligence works. So I will try to combine those two in the next class, and we will try to get a better view on how we can control the mind and use the intelligence for a higher purpose. All right, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.